It was very difficult to negotiate it through all the lanes of the villages on road. And people had not seen a crane. So they were all come and see, was this machine moving? I'm talking about 1945, for 50. But there was very backward, there was no road. The crane had to actually come through, the tractor, the crane mounted on a tractor had to come through the river and it dumped it there. And finally, under Swami's supervision, a new ashram was built. This is before inauguration, this is the hill. South Prashanti is here, East Prashanti is here. On this side is the Yajur Mandir, ladies' side is here, gents' side is here. This is Sai Kulvanthal. There is no Kulvanthal and Sai has not yet moved into this. See very carefully, there is a car there. That is where the Samadhi is. And this is Swami's interview room, the inner room. His room, personal room was upstairs. And every day he would walk like this because his mother would come and bring food and serve him. After the food, he will go away back. Next slide, please. This shows the entrance and some people walking. Next slide, please. Here you see people waiting to catch a glimpse of Swami walking. Here is Swami walking back after eating lunch. After darshan is over, he will go. But people will wait just before this, seeing him go here and come back. Next slide, please. We are moving on in years. And this light I thought would go off. All the other lights are switched off or not this. These lights must be off and these must be put on. Because it is, you are not getting the full beauty of the picture. That is better. Okay. This Swami is here giving darshan. And there is only sand here. This is called the South Dharam Gate. And right now, this is where the bell is. If you go to Prashanti, there's a bell that is here. And next slide, please. Actually, sorry, bell is not there. Previous slide. This is where there are two small lines. The ashram gate extends up to here, and there is a temple go from here. Those things have not yet come into existence. Next slide, please. In 1953, Swami laid the foundation stone for a general hospital. He said, I am going to help the poor and the sick by giving them what they lack. The first thing he decided to build a hospital. This hospital was commissioned on Dasara Day 3 years later. Here you see the inauguration ceremony, people gathering to participate in the inaugural function. The next slide shows the hospital as it is today. The building extends up to there. And the next slide shows the building here. Upstairs is all theatres and wards. Mostly it's a maternity hospital. Way back in 1956, there was no hospital in the entire district except in the district headquarters, which is Anantapur. No hospital. They had in Bukkapatnam a small dispensary where a doctor would come from 9 to 5 on some days. And I've seen that dispensary. It was established in 1914, the year the First World War began. And when Swami established the hospital in 1956, this was the first village to have a hospital. And there was not even a proper road to Puttaparthi at that time, 1956. It had 6 beds, 4 reserved for ladies and 2 for men. There was one doctor, he worked honorably, and one nurse was paid. And this was the first time women could come and deliver babies in a hospital. Even today in India, there are many villages where there is no midwife, no hospital, no nothing. That kind of backwardness still persists. But Swami made a hospital come, and this hospital now has about 120 beds, mostly maternity cases. And over here are the dental wards and various other doctors' consultation rooms. And one interesting thing about the hospital is one of the very few hospitals in the state which treats snake bites. They deal with 300 snake bites every year. Most of these snake bites occur during the agricultural season when snakes are to be found in plenty in the fields. Next slide, please. You may not believe it. This is the road by which you go to the ashram now. There is nothing. The Chitravati is there. You see very carefully, you can see the foundation laid in a building trying to come up. That is a college. And all this side you have so many things, and over here the Hillview Stadium. Next slide, please. This is the college as it exists now. And here is the boys' school. This is the Hillview Stadium. Next slide, please. 1981, Swami established a university. I showed you a hill behind the tin shed. This is the hill, and on that hill is the university building, and facing it is the Hillview Stadium. Next slide, please. On his 65th birthday in 1990, Swami made a dramatic announcement. In the course of his discourse, he said, if the rich become sick, they have a hole in the heart, they can go to America for treatment. What about the poor? They have no place to go. So I am going to build a hospital here, a high-class tertiary care hospital called Super Speciality Hospital, where treatment will be completely free. Not only that, that hospital will start functioning exactly 1 year from now. The foundation stone was laid yesterday on 22nd November. In 1991, that is 1 year from now, on 22nd November, that hospital would start functioning. Nobody believed it. The next slide is a picture taken on 22nd November 1991. Hospital is not quite ready in the sense it is today. There is the inauguration, stage set for inauguration. Swami is there. They are waiting for the Prime Minister to come. He came, I was there present on that day. By that time I had retired, not yet retired, but I had come for Swami's birthday. I was still in service. And the next slide, please. The Prime Minister came. There was an airport by that time because they felt doctors will come by air and treat the patients and all that. Prime Minister was welcome. The airport is just next door. He cut a ribbon, entered the hall, and he just walked in. He lit a lamp, and on the opening day, there were no speeches. Swami went upstairs along with the Prime Minister. In the operation theatre, there was a patient already anesthetized and kept ready. Swami blessed from outside, and the surgeon started doing heart surgery. The boy had a hole in the heart. And on that day, 4 surgeries were done. Swami said it's going to happen. Nobody believed it. It's impossible to even imagine how a hospital came up in a village. People told Swami, don't have it here. The village is a village. You don't have shops where you can buy medicine. Everything has to come from Bangalore. He said, no. Bangalore has got hospitals. People in the village need hospitals. And I'm going to build it. He did it. Next slide, please. This is how the hospital looks. And most people go this way. They barely pay any attention to this hospital. But that also is the hospital which Swami sanctified by spending his last days on earth. Next slide, please. In the year 2001, on 19 January, Swami declared this hospital open. This is the hospital in Bangalore. And now I'll show you some slides to show the facilities that exist. Next slide, please. This is a lab where they do angiograms, catheterization and all that. Next slide, please. This is a picture taken in the Bangalore hospital where a brain surgery is going on. Everything free, huh? Next slide, please. This is the ICU in Bangalore hospital. Next slide, please. This is the cardiac care unit in Puttaparthi hospital. And the next slide shows you a map of India and the various states and how many people come every year from the 2 hospitals. These are numbers relating to the calendar year 2010. That is to say, from 1st Jan to 31st December. The Puttaparthi hospital has many specialities. Cardiology is the most important, orthopedics, ophthalmology, urology, gastroenterology, reconstructive surgery and so on. And in the year 2010, Nearly 14,000 patients underwent procedures and stayed in the hospital. Number of outpatients runs into few hundred thousand, 500,000. But these are people who underwent procedures, stayed in the hospital for many days, like heart surgery, for example, and hip replacement and things like that. The Bangalore hospital has only cardiology and neurology, that is brain and spine, and it treated roughly 6,600 people. So together, 20,000 people getting every treatment free, no consultation free, no fee for, the consultation is free, no fee for, undergoing tests, be it ECG, EKG, or CT scan, X-ray, and all that. Nothing, not a penny. And then if there is a procedure, heart surgery, for example, that is free. No operation theatre, no doctor's fee, no medicine fee. Stay in the ward is free, food is free, everything is free. People don't believe this, but it is true. Next slide, please. This is the state of Andhra Pradesh. In 1994, Swami did a drinking water project for Anantapur, and that was done at a cost of $50 million or so. And as a result of that project, 1 million villagers living in 731 villages in the district got potable water, that is to say water free from fluoride. It's not groundwater but rain-fed water. Groundwater in Anantapur district has a lot of fluoride, and fluoride is bad news. You drink water with too much fluorine, it damages the teeth. More importantly, it makes the bones deform very badly. It's called skeletal fluorosis, and also produces rheumatic arthritis in a very painful way. This was prevalent throughout the district. It has been there for almost 1,000 years. People lived with it. Swami asked the government, the Prime Minister, to do something. Narasimha Rao knows that district very well, but he kept quiet. So Swami said, I will do it, and did the project. Later he did projects for these two. Did a project for the city of Chennai, then called Madras, the population of 8 million. I don't know whether you have a city in Canada which has got 8 million. For that matter, even 4 million. And this is not the biggest city in India. He brought water from there to there. I will come to that story. And after that, he did projects for these two districts, West Godavari and East Godavari. Now I'll show some slides of the Anantapur project. Next slide. This is a big tank that stores water in summer, monsoon, when rains come. The rainwater is dammed and taken through canals. From the canal, they have a pump and bring the water here and store it. And to give water to the town, they just draw it from here, put it through a filtration plant so that impurities, etc., are removed, and it becomes fit for drinking and then distributed. Mostly it is to the villages, but here and there, he gave it also to towns, but it goes also to many villages. Next slide, please. This is a big tank. This picture I took, and this is a photo collage, shows a panorama. It's about 70 acres, and the depth of the water comes up to here when full. You can see the water mark. Every day this will pump water out to a filtration plant, and from there it will be distributed to the villages. Next slide. This is a small irrigation dam on a small river. Water is used for irrigation, but Swami arranged these engineers to put pipes, suck water with pumps, taken there. The next slide shows a filtration plant. First the sediments are removed after adding alum, and then the water is taken to this place where it goes through many stages of 7 stages of filtration. The water is then chlorinated, stored here, and from there it's distributed. Next slide shows the pump facilities. There's a lot of hardware. Not only that, next slide, about 2,500 kilometers of pipeline were laid to take water from the source to destination. Next slide. More of piping. Here the pipe is going up the hill. Next slide. Water is pumped up to reservoirs like this. And when the water is distributed at specific times, at that time valves are open and the water just flows by gravity. In the next slide, please. This shows villagers drawing water comfortably without any hassle. Typically in a village there will be 4 outlet points like this. And they will all come at that time, draw water, fill up their pots, and here you see a woman going back to her house. This is in another place in Medak district, and here you see a woman carrying. All these people are able to get water without hassle, and this is fluoride-free water. From the time the Anantapur project was started, let me tell you, the incidence of all this skeletal fluorosis has dropped to 0. Doctors have monitored it. And now the children in Anantapur, their teeth doesn't have the problem of dental fluorosis. They don't have skeletal fluorosis. Bones are strong. The next slide, please. This is the river Godavari, which originates in the state of Maharashtra, then flows through what you call Andhra Pradesh into the Bay of Bengal. The river Godavari passes through Nasik, and that is where it is said Rama lived in a hut from where Sita was abducted. Next slide, please. Swami did a water project for the people of East and West Godavari. Basically, you draw the water from the river, and then it is taken to a purification plant and distributed. But Swami did a very special project for the tribals living in East Godavari. There are regions of East Godavari district which are hilly. Next slide. This shows the hills of East Godavari. And here, among the hills, live the tribes. Next slide, please. These are the tribes. They live pretty much off the forest, and as they used to for hundreds of years. Now there is a big tribal insurgency in India. I'll come to that in a minute. You can see their life is far removed from the kind of life you live here. There are millions of people, 85 million tribals. There is 2.5 times your population. That many tribals we have in India. And they live in huts like this, and they live off the forest. For them, Swami did a water project. Next slide, please. This is a mountain stream. It goes dry in summer, and but this pump can suck subsoil water. There is a lot of water in the soil, below the soil, in all river beds, and that is drawn from here, filtered and distributed. Earlier, the villagers would go deep into the forest where there will be some small trickle of water. They will put a pot there. It will take 2 hours to fill and bring. Those are all snake-infested areas, and it was really very miserable. They didn't come and ask Swami for any water project. They don't even know Swami exists. He knew about them and did the water project. Now, the plant had to be built to purify the water. There was no flat land available. It was all forest, and that is a protected forest. You can't cut trees. So what to do? There was a flat piece of land. Tribals had cleared some for cultivation. And next slide, please. And one tribal lady gifted that land so that this pumping station could be built. Purification plant and pumping station. By the way, there are tigers in that area, and Mr. Ramakrishna, who supervised this project, he has come to America. He is a member of the World Foundation. He told me personally that during the construction stage, the tiger actually came during broad daylight. It inspected the plant and went away. But in the forest, they have often seen tiger pug marks near the storage tanks. And the next slide, please. This is the tribal lady to whom that land belonged. She gave it free. Nobody knows about her. She is not celebrated. She has not got any award from anybody. She simply said, Swami is doing this for us out of love. Let me show my respect for Swami by giving this land to his project so that he may serve my people. This is how Swami multiplied his love, and very few people paid attention to that. That is a very important component of his life and his message. He didn't advertise it. His life was so powerful that people were transformed, and they began to do good. If today's Sai Seva goes on in many parts of the world, it is because of the silent transformation he produced. Next slide, please. This is the hill again. This is a hand pump which gave groundwater. Most of the time this pump would be in repair, nobody to repair it. But here is Sai water available to the tribals. And there were no inauguration ceremonies. Swami just told the people, he told some of his trust members, you go there, have some bhajan arranged, distribute prasadam and ask them to open the taps, that's all. And some years later, many of them came to see Swami, 400 of them came. They had never seen a train in their life. They were brought by train. From there they had to go to another place called Rajmundry, get into a train and come. They came to see Swami. Next slide please. And as tribals did from the days of Rama, they brought fruits, produce from the forest, honey, grains and all that. When Rama crosses the Ganges, Guha comes to see him and he brings. Same thing they did to Swami. Next slide please. Here are the tribals dancing for Swami in Sai Kulwantol, that barren piece of land. Next slide please. More of tribal dances. Next slide please. Here are tribals dancing with big drums. They are having horns in their head. These are real buffalo horns which they have hunted. They have hunting privileges. Next slide please. Here is a group photograph. He showed them love. They come and express their gratitude. I have been to those places. I have talked to villagers there. And they said, well, in fact, Mr. Ramakrishna asked the old lady, you have got water now, what more do you want? And she said, tribal lady, what more do I want? Nothing. I want to have darshan of Swami. Someday I hope it will come. I went to another village, tribal village. There a lady had composed a song in honor of Swami. In fact, she came there and sang that. Next slide, please. Here you see the seeds of Swami's influence spreading abroad. This picture was taken in Vrindavan many years ago in Bangalore, ashram. So these are devotees who have come from South America. Next slide, please. This is Swami talking to Mrs. Joy Thomas. She was pretty big, and Kasturi used to refer to her as a mountain of joy. Next slide, please. And here is the devotee giving. These are the old days. There was no cycle, there was just a garage. And here Swami taking a letter. Next slide, please. This is a very nice picture. The Swami standing in the sand. These people said, Swami, can we sing for you? He said, go ahead. So the Swami is standing here and listening. This, by the way, used to be his lunchroom where Ishrama would bring lunch. Okay. We go on, move on in years. And next slide, please. This is a picture taken in June or July, I don't remember now, 2010, when a big group came from America to sing for Swami. This is the American group, they are performing a choir in that open area. Next slide, please. One of them was a member of one of the Indian tribes of America. He's singing a song in front of Swami in his own language. And next slide, please. This is an 85-year-old tribal chief, somewhere on the west coast. He told me his name and all that. And he was actually a war veteran. He served in the US Navy during World War II. Here is the tribal chief. And this is Professor Grease, Cornell University professor of computer science, who comes every year to teach and lecture. And this is a Spanish boy who used to be with Swami. I think he left some years ago. Last year or a year before, Swami receiving a rose from an American tribal. Imagine that. High school dropout with nothing. The world is coming to him. Next slide, please. These are devotees from many countries, Asian republics of the former Soviet Union, like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and so on. As they often say, all the stans except Afghanistan and Pakistan. They are all Muslims. They are all Muslims. And the next slide, which is very beautiful, these are all children from there. They are performing for Swami. They sang bhajan in the various languages that belong to that region, and they were all Muslims. Next slide, please. A big group came from Latin America. All the flags of all the countries in that group are shown here. Many countries, from Mexico to Chile. And the next slide shows a part of the group singing for Swami in Cyclonthol. Next slide shows a group from Central Europe. Here's a man blowing his horn, shall I say. This is an alpine horn used in Austria and Switzerland. Next slide, please. This shows Swami listening to a choir from Nigeria. And all this place used to be sand and barren. And remember a slide I showed, which showed a road like this? That was here. We move on to the year 2011, the early part. Next slide, please. Here is Swami coming out, I think, on Friday, 25th of March. Next slide, please. Then he is going past the ladies' side, all their attention is focused on the car. Next slide, please. He is now on the gents' side, and they are all having a look at him. And next slide, please. Here he is seated there on the daisy. And next slide, please. Here he is talking to a student. Next slide, please. Here he is. See how thin his hair has become. Next slide, please. This is the last picture taken of Swami. He is blessing, he is very weak. And if you see very carefully, the left side has been affected. Next day was a Saturday, Swami did not come for darshan. Next day was Sunday, he did not come for darshan. And on Monday, he was moved to the hospital. Next slide, please. In the hospital, there was a special ICU for him. He lay on this bed. Every day a bulletin would come. And finally, on 24th of April, which was Easter Sunday, next slide please, a bulletin was issued. And Swami had left us. Here his body is being removed from the hospital. I'm sure many of you must have followed on television his thing, the entire proceedings. Last interment was carried on television. We provided the support radio side. But the night before, very quietly, he was taken to the bhajan hall. Next slide, please. This is a very rare picture. There is Swami in the bhajan hall, which he consecrated on 23rd November 1950. The very same hall. He is being given arati there. Just some old students of his, and there is here. Very few people even knew about it. And next day, next slide please. Here is the pit. Body had already been placed there, and it was covered with vibhuti after pouring some sand and all that. Here are Buddhist priests pouring vibhuti into it. And next slide. By that evening, this very place from where Swami gave so many discourses, a flower mound was all that was left as a reminder. Next slide, please. This is how the place looks today. And here is this chair. Just a few days before I came, to quell rumors that Swami had left this place and gone to some other place, Vibhuti manifested here. That evening before the curtain was opened, the boys who went to make final arrangement to the flowers saw Vibhuti. They immediately informed the secretary of the trust. He came there and he asked our boys to come and take photographs and films. We took it for record, but we didn't publicize it. And Veda chanting and all was delayed by 10 minutes. Later on, the secretary told me. And of course, we could go there and actually see it. It was there particularly in the footmarks. So I told you in 25th May, when he wrote that letter, Swami gave many assurances. Next slide, please. He said, I will give Ananda to all, which he did. He said, I will lead people to the path of righteousness, which he did by giving innumerable discourses. At least 2,500 discourses he has given all over the country. over 60 years. We have tapes of 1500. There are about 300 more tapes or so, 300 or so more tapes in the public domain. We are trying to get them. And he served the poor. He personally used to do Narayan Seva till the very end. Next slide. You have seen this. This is the Chitravati River. It started with a very small crowd. And next slide, please. This is a picture taken on the occasion of his 70th birthday. There is the river where it all started. And see, the stadium is filled here. Over 100,000 people or 150,000 people. The picture taken from a helicopter. And the President of India was here on the stage. And the Finance Minister of India was also there. He is now the Prime Minister of India, Dr. Manmohan Singh. So, he dropped out of school. He did great projects. He built great hospitals without any cash in his pocket, all by using love. He did it to prove the power of love. And he said that love is in each one of you. Just allow it to come out. You may not do big things. You don't have to. But if 1,000 of you get together and allow some of that love to come, that will multiply. Because it's only little drops that make a mighty ocean. He said that. But do we realize that it actually is possible for our love to come out and join together to make a mighty ocean of love? Sadly, we only talk about it. The time has come now to do something more than mere talk, to take its message seriously. The world is in desperate need of love. You may say, what about poverty, climate change? All those things can be taken care of if people have love of the type Swami had for us. His love was unconditional, selfless, and without any trace of selfishness or self-interest. Today, individuals have become hyper-individualistic. They are saturated with selfishness. They have a lot of self-interest. What's there in it for me, they will ask. Why do I have to do this? And countries have self-interest and selfishness. You see that in trade deals, when it comes to climate change, every country should say, I will pollute, but you don't pollute. It is happening with respect to nuclear armaments. I will have nuclear armaments, but you should not have. So there seems to be this kind of policy of exclusivity. Swami was always inclusive. He doesn't ask us to do great things. And doesn't mean you have to do great projects. But there is a great need for what you call love, compassion, understanding and companionship. So he said, love everybody seeing God in that person. People don't understand love also all, there's a fine print. Love everybody seeing God in that person. Why should I see God? A, because God is there. B, because when you see God, you will not hurt that God. And C, the moment you see God in any other person, so that person, your ego will come down. I have created this organization not to improve the world, but to improve you. When you improve yourself, automatically the world will improve because you will have that urge to go and serve. That's the message I came to give. I chose to be born in a poor family. When I came as Rama, I was born as a prince. But I went to the forest to show that truth has to be upheld. And I will undergo suffering to uphold truth. When I came as Krishna, I was born, raised by a cowherd, a dairyman, Nanda. What did I come for? I came to tell humanity, give humanity an important message. You have to fight evil. And evil can be fought only when you come together. One man cannot fight evil. You have to come together. When you come together, I'll be by your side. That message still holds. When Swami came in 1955 in Shivaratri discourse, he said, This avatar has come not to destroy but to save. Yes, the tree is infected by termites, but I am not going to cut the tree. I will heal the tree and eliminate the termites with love. In a famous speech which he recorded in England in 1931, Gandhi says, "He is no God who merely satisfies the intellect. God to be God must rule the heart and transform the senses." Then he asks, how do we know God exists? You will know God exists through the actions of his devotee. He uses the word devotees. If we have the spark of divinity in our love, which Swami always stressed, and to highlight that he would always begin his discourse in the old days, Divyatma Swarupalaro, embodiments of the divine Atma. He never said, my dear devotees. In fact, he was asked, Swami, why don't you say, my dear devotees? In 1963, he said in a discourse, I don't call you my dear devotees because I am not satisfied, or in fact, I don't believe you are my devotees. I don't believe in your devotion. That is focus. And I saw it once in early 90s. Those days, birthday used to be in the Bellevue Stadium. Swami said, so many people, but I don't see a single devotee. I told myself, come on, Swami, you must be joking. There are so many people here. Every kanapadle there, not a single devotee. What he meant was devotion according to my standards. What are those standards? They are given in the 12th chapter of the Gita, where Bhakti Yoga is taught to Arjuna. Swami, they said, I have not changed a comma in that. My standards are the same. Many people say you've been close to Swami. That was mentioned even today. Let me correct you. I was geographically close. But spiritual closeness to the Lord, anybody, anywhere can be close, provided they meet those specifications. Those standards have not been changed. They are there for all to see. In simple terms, love everybody seeing God in that way. Even a stone, even a snake, even a mountain. Tribes in India worship mountain. Companies are coming in from abroad, they are demolishing the mountain, saying there is minerals in there. What will minerals do when you die, Swami asks? Will they do anything for your soul? Think, you have forgotten the soul. Maybe I should put an app so that you remember there is a soul and give some time for the soul. It has come to that. We don't seem to take God seriously. We want experiences. What about his life in the message? Today I decided to draw attention to the fact Avatar comes with a fixed agenda. He made 3 statements. Very few people notice that he fulfilled the agenda. Very few people are aware of what his agenda was. Even fewer are aware that he fulfilled them. He always did it with love. And he tried to show that love is very powerful. We choose not to because it is inconvenient for us. Selfless love means I should have no ego. Nobody wants to give up their ego or their desires. Swami says, all right, have some ego, have some desires, but keep it under check. Just as you keep your blood sugar and blood pressure under check. If you let it go, all right, then things will take care of themselves. I don't have to do anything. So if we are going to defy divinity, there is a law of nature that will punish. Climate change may be one of those things. Terrorism, evil. He went to Bombay in 1999. I was with him. The big football stadium was full of people, elite of Bombay. He gave a discourse. They were not devotees. They were the elite. They wanted to see Sai Baba. They were beautiful discourse. And they didn't know anything about bhajan. He made them sing bhajans. He sang Prem. I was there. But in the earlier part, people said, Sai Baba, this city has broken down, there is crime, we can't go jogging in the morning, people kidnap us. These were the rich fellows. My children can't go to school, they are kidnapped. There's crime, there's that. He blasted them. Next day, Times of India said, Sai Baba thunders. You know what he said? You live in skyscrapers. Do you ever look down from your balcony on the road below, at the road below? Oh, there are slums, all the people there work for you. Your children go to school in air-conditioned cars driven by those people. Their children have to work in your house. When it rains, You have a house, when Bombay monsoon is severe, they are under tarpaulin. When you fall sick, you go to the doctor. When they fall sick, they come here. And I know this insensitivity that comes. I know it from a personal experience I had. I will mention that in the end. I used to live in Bombay working for the atomic energy from 1955 to 73. My service in the department continued, but in a different location. 1973, I moved to another place. There was one building in a place called Valli, which was away from the, then the Beverly Hills of Bombay, if I put it that way. This was some place called Valli, which has now become part of the corporate world, and big flats are there. We had one building owned by the government, about 22 flats or so. I was in one of them. There were slums nearby, and the people from there used to work in all the houses, small jobs. There was an old man whose job was to bring milk. There was a dairy nearby, big mechanized dairy set up with UNICEF funds. They would, supply chilled water, milk in chilled bottles. And every day it will be brought. No supermarket, nothing at that time. So he had a token. He would take that, he'd show that token and bring milk for everybody. The whole building. His entire family was engaged in that. One Sunday morning he didn't show up. He would bring it in the morning. That afternoon he brought milk. So he was banged by everybody. You ruined my Sunday, I couldn't make tea. And I wanted to drink tea while I was reading my newspaper. And when he came to my house, he opened the door, I saw him. He said, give me the card and all that, I'll go and get milk now. I asked him, nobody knew his name. We called him Buddha. Buddha in Hindi means old man. Buddha, why didn't you come in the morning? Just asked him. He didn't answer, we began to cry. Buddha, why are you crying? I just asked you a small question. Why are you crying? His wife was standing next to him. He said, sir, this morning my child died. I have to bury the child. That's why I couldn't come. All these people are angry about not getting milk. I lost my child. They don't know that. That is the insensitivity that affluence breeds. That is the insensitivity that bulb of affluence builds. Alan Greenspan, the former chief of the Federal Bureau in, Federal Reserve, as they call it in America, Central Bank. He's a very astute banker and an arch conservative. He said, you cannot have an island of prosperity in an ocean of misery. In India today, we have an island of prosperity, the creamy layer, 300-400 million people, very rich and the upper middle class. They go to shopping malls, they go to hospitals, they go to Switzerland, New Zealand for vacation. But there are 600 million people below poverty. And right in Puttaparthi, we see. If I go some distance away, there are villages where you cannot get an aspirin tablet. This is an explosive mixture. Swami said, you want to avoid trouble, this is what he told the Bombay fellows. Take care of the poor. Otherwise you will get an explosion. The number of children we have to educate in India, 18 and below, is 400 million. That's more than the population of the United States. United States is struggling to educate its children, which is about 50 million. We have to educate 400 million and give them jobs. Every job is being taken away by technology. And in few years, our population is going to exceed that of China, and you will have 900 million people. 3 times US population. We are sitting on a ticking time bomb. On the other hand, if there is equity, these 900 million people will become an asset. And we have to change our outlook. We have to move away from consumerism, excessive consumerism, which breeds only materialism, aggression, suppression of the weak and the poor, hatred. That choice is to be made by us. God is not going to make it. You created the problem, you solve it. How many of us are willing to spend even time thinking about that? Today, I appeal to you, You are in very fortunate circumstances. Spare a minute for the have-nots. That is the message of all religions. Islam is all about compassion. Don't be misguided by what people say about jihad. Imams have said, jihad is fighting the devil in the mind, not killing somebody. There is no sanction. It is fanatics with an agenda who say that. Jihad means enemy of God. Who is the enemy of God? Devil is the enemy of God. Where is the devil? In your mind. That's what jihad means. Swami didn't use the word devil and man, but he talked about impurities of the mind. Kama, krodha, lobha, moha, matsarya, ahamkara, mamkara. Desire. Krishna in the Gita says, desire is your mortal foe. You get into that slippery slope, it will end up in ruin. Desire can be for the body, disconnected with wanting to drink, wanting to have drugs, and what you call bodily relationship with women and so on. Desire of the mind is more powerful. Power, money, wealth, territory, assets. Swami asks, what are you going to take with you? When you die in India, the women were not allowed to go to the crematorium. They will come to the door of the house, front door. The villagers will come to the end of the street. The relatives will take you to the cremation ghat. And after the body is lit, they will go away. There is a fellow who takes care of the crematorium. He will also go away at night. Your body will burn. Who is there with you? No one. But I am there with you because I am the Atma, I am everywhere. Your only friend is God. Trust in God, he said. Today we want stories about God. But trust, we have no time for God. We have no time for our body. We are allowed to become obese. We have no time for our family. We are allowed to splinter. We have time only for the cell phone. People can't even keep off it while driving. They have now got cell phone which you can take to the toilet, you can use it in the shower. I actually saw how they were water free. Because the fellow says, my boss will call, so it is, Niagara Falls can follow and nothing will happen. You can reach the button. What kind of a life is this? Let us wake up. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya said. From darkness, let us go to light. Light is always there. Darkness is created by our greed and desires. They can be expelled only by us. I have said more than enough. I shall stop here and thank you for your patience and your kind hospitality. God bless you. First question is, being a scientist, what attracted you to Swami and the life of spirituality? This question is based on a misconception that scientists are enemies of spirituality. That is absolutely wrong. Modern science owes its origin to Newton. And Newton was a great believer in God. And in fact, he was at one time trained to become a priest. Luckily, he didn't become a priest because he laid the foundations of modern science. And on one occasion, he said that thumb alone is enough to prove that God exists. And I illustrated by drawing attention